I think this is a perfect movie. There's very few films that I will actually sit down and say I think are perfect. I think this is a perfect movie. Yeah, I see what he did.
Okay, good enough.
I saw what he did as soon as he changed.
Okay, now you've gone too far, young man.
He's just fucking with you now.
We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going. Okay. This movie changed the way that I think about movies. It changed the way that I think about American movies. It changed the way that I think about noir as a genre. It changed the way that I think about scores in movies. I think the music in this is incredible. Like it changed the way I think about silence in movies. I think this movie uses silence in wonderful ways.
Practically a silent movie.
It's practically a silent movie, yeah. If the cop would shut the fuck up occasionally, it would actually be a silent movie for large portions.
Somebody had to have lines.
But I'm glad he doesn't sometimes, because
because he's well. So that's one of the things I love about this movie is that everyone in this movie is competent. Like nobody in this movie is incompetent. The cops are competent. He's competent. The other criminals are competent. The couple of guys who aren't.
The women are absolutely competent.
Women are competent. And the couple of guys who aren't competent in it get punished for not being competent.
Oh, yeah.
Like this is an uncompromising world, and if you fuck up, you get fucked up. That guy gets left in his house, tied up with a fucking rope around his neck and his gun lying on the bed. And it's like, what do you think is going to happen to that dude when they figure out that he didn't kill this guy? They're going to go whack him too.
So it's in other words, it's a precursor to Heat of all things.
Yes.
Yeah. It's all about professionalism. You know, that's one of the themes of that film.
And the one guy who isn't professional is the one who fucks it up for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
That's true.
Reminded me of another professional film, Leon.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Leon runs through both of these movies because especially in Ghost Dog, that's Leon's backstory too.
Leon is like both these movies on steroids, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Leon's a great
song, man.
Yeah, and it has Gary Oldmaning all over the place.
All of them.
Just fucking popping the pills in his mouth and
the neck crack, dude.
I know. Well, this film had I thought kind of a wonderful tone to it. You know, that late 70s, that nice cool look to everything.
Late 60s.
Sorry, late 60s. I meant the furniture.
It's a movie that feels like it's in black and white.
It does. It feels in black and white. When you see bright color, it's surprising.
Then it's in color.
I know. But it was just, I think it's like, everybody, like half the walls were horribly dingy in this too. I don't know if that's a French thing or not, but his apartment was dingy. A couple other apartments were like really horribly dingy.
Which is
then there were some
cool.
super clean ones
It's
too.
only like 20 years after
When every time
World War II.
you see a clean apartment, it's owned by a rich person who is probably evil.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, there's some coding going on there.
I loved his apartment, but if you look too close, like I saw it on my big TV this time, because the first time I watched this, unfortunately, it was on a laptop. But but the set design is so good until you get really, really close to it, and then you kind of see, okay, it's pretty fake looking, but but it's but it's really good from like what they were
and this
trying to
movie
do.
wasn't meant to be seen in that kind of detail.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. It's like there's be a print of a print playing somewhere like in an art theater or something like that.
But I saw this like for the first
holy
time.
Shit, did they clean it up so well for Criterion? God damn.
Yeah,
it went back and forth between some.
It's much better than the 35 millimeter print I saw at first.
Yeah, it went back and forth being like some scenes were kind of fuzzy. Then some were just incredibly sharp, just like just down to the grain.
And you can tell that's on the film. Like
yeah. They were down to the original negative, which is great.
I find this film completely mesmerizing in a certain way. Like it really just it grabs you, and then you can't.
I get lost in it. I get absolutely lost in it.
It's got so much atmosphere and tone and mood, and I watched it for the first time ever just I think 2 years ago only, maybe even only 1 year ago. So this is like the second time I've seen it in like a year or two's time, and it just like I got lost in it.
Although I will say though that about halfway through the film, I was starting to get itchy because there's a thing where a character will walk into a room and he walks all the way across the room. Then he walks up the stairs and he walks down the hall and he tries the door and he does something else. You see every little bit of it. And that's like a kind of an antiquated visual storytelling thing where you get to see every single. Yeah, well, no, it's not mise-en-scène. It's actually it's actually the opposite of that. It's unnecessary montage. it's excessive montage. It's
Well,
too
I don't,
many,
I don't know. I think the scene. I think
too
the
many
scene where
shots
they're-
that don't propel the story.
when
And
they're
there's-
breaking into his house, and there's the
Yeah, 'cause
whole
I
part
think
where they
that's what
go
he's
they go
into.
up the stairs, and then the guy walks by, and then they come back down the stairs, and then they're kind of like cautious. I think that's so
no,
cool.
that was actually
it all
that
works
part
for
was
me.
essential.
See, to me, it's all a part of the hypnosis of the
Right.
whole thing. Like it all works for me in a certain way.
Yeah. Well, you know
I
that
get your point, Scott, but I think it's just like for me, I was like, okay, I'm okay with this. You know,
Also, this movie's like a tight, little over 90
well, it's an hour.
minutes.
It's an hour and 40, I think, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not. It's there's.
It's not
It's
long. It's not
148.
long, but it could. If I swear, you could probably whack about 15 minutes of walking around out of it. But if you really, if someone was like, remember Steven Soderbergh recut 2001, he got it down to like 79 minutes. Yeah,
why the fuck would you do that?
you just want to see if he could do it. You know,
Because
this one I
people
would
who
love
are
to put this on
easily
editing bed.
bored.
Just cut it down.
That's
Take
like how
all
the
this-
Alien director's cut is 3 minutes shorter than the original release.
Yes,
Because really
same
Scott
deal.
went back and he's like, I could just pull little bits out here and there and make it a little bit shorter.
Yeah. But you know, like I said, getting there is delightful though. And this, I love that the interior, like the nightclub, and just it was, and you do have a main character who's kind of like a blank slate. We had this problem last week.
Yes.
Yeah, and that makes it a little annoying, but I guess we get something to work with.
That's a piece that like I wish I was old enough to have the context around why Alain Delon's performance in this was pretty groundbreaking for him at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because as I understand it, he wasn't even the first choice for this movie. And his decision to play the character the way that he played it was completely the opposite of everything he'd been doing up to that point. And so it was his attempt to kind of like bust through his existing persona and try to create a new one.
Mm-hmm. I can see him doing a lot of
Yeah,
romantic
which sounds
leads.
awesome.
The original ending of this movie, when he gets shot, he's supposed to have a giant shit-eating grin on his face as he dies. And they found out that he had done that in another movie already.
Oh,
So they changed it. They changed it to him just sort of stoically falling over and dying.
Which is
Like-
the whole movie is him stoic. You know.
stoically doing everything, basically.
There are things about this movie that I admire the hell out of because like
Look at how piercing his eyes are.
Oh
this
yeah,
is
Oh,
same
dude.
shot.
this is a level of icy cool that I think that sort of like, as you guys have mentioned, sort of laid the groundwork for a million movies that kind of came after it.
Mm-hmm.
But then there are things like, Scott mentioned the pacing. I think there's probably one shot of him adjusting his hat. There's probably 40 of those that could have been cut out.
Yeah,
There's a lot of guy in a trench coat walking.
No, I don't know. I disagree. I think
I
it.
love the no dialogue thing, like huge expanses of this movie. There's like no one talks. It's all just sound effects. And I mean, there's a soundtrack here, but it's even like it's so in the background.
But there's a way, there's like a good way to do style in cinema,
a
and there's
lot
a
of
bad
style.
way to do style.
yeah.
This is the good way.
This is most style. This movie is most style.
very most style.
I mean, fucking look at this shit.
but
Like,
Yeah, very nice.
some
and
movies do style and it's fucking annoying. This movie does style and it's not annoying to me.
well,
I wouldn't call this movie stylish. The style is part of the
actually-
movie.
Right.
I actually think
Melville he's influenced. It's not just samurai flicks, right? It's like Ozu and
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Gucci,
And the pure new wave.
Those movies, most Westerners complain about them being boring because not much happens, but it's the stuff that happens in between.
Right.
Well, it's like Tad said,
action
like
pieces.
the silence, I think, says volumes, not only in the picture, but in Alain Delon's character, right? Not speaking all the time and saying everything with his eyes or with his face.
this
Do you
movie.
think-
Is a counterpart to the
You know what movie this reminded me of?
Kathy Cobb.
This movie reminded me of Drive more than it reminded me anything.
One of my favorite
Yeah,
movies, and
I
another
can see
movie
that.
that I would call perfect.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I think I've said I'm a huge fan of that movie, but
I can see me too. And I think the character, I could see that
Definitely
comparison.
Yeah.
I'm missing some context. What I would have to be a lot older to have that, so I'm not going to get that. I appreciate, like I think I've mentioned, like I give movies a lot of credit for being the first to do the thing that they did. This movie was clearly, I think, in 1967, the first to do a lot of things that we've all now seen in a million other movies. there were points in this movie though where it was almost like a parody of the movie that it is. Like I said, you know, just a little enough with the fucking hat already.
Yeah.
Like there
But
was
the
a,
hat, but the hat is as
It's
much
a
a part
tip.
of his identity.
I guess.
Also,
Yeah.
I've never.
Because remember
I don't think there's-
when he has everybody switch the things when
Yes.
when they're doing the lineup and he walks,
That
and
was
the
a
guy
great
walks,
scene, by
and
the
the guy
way.
walks in and he
Uh-huh.
goes, he's like, he had that coat and he had
it
that
was a
hat,
different, but the
and he
hat
had
was darker,
this-
or the hat was lighter.
and he had this
Yeah.
guy's face.
Yeah.
You know, like he is a hat and a coat. Like that's
Right.
the only thing that doesn't work about that is that he is such a beautiful human being that everyone would recognize him immediately in
Right.
real
Yeah.
life. In a movie,
Well, yeah, I was just
you
gonna
don't
say,
get
like,
that.
this may be the
Especially because
most.
even the people who say that it's not him, look him straight in the face.
Straight in the
when he
face.
comes out of
Yeah.
the hallway.
Nope, not that
Yeah.
guy. It's not you.
Not that guy.
It's Tom Cruise in Collateral.
Collateral.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very much Tom Cruise in Collateral, where everything he wears is gray and his hair's gray, and he's just a generic white dude in a gray suit, you know.
Yeah.
And like he's very much a generic dude in a suit, you know, like and it's a whole like the hat is how you recognize him through a lot of the movie.
I just
you know?
rewatched Collateral very recently.
You know, if he wasn't like tall, this dude, I would swear that I think the filmmaker made a decision to make him look kind of Asian.
This is the
You know,
best.
He's
This is the best.
He's pale with really dark hair. You know, it just kind of really pops out.
But
in
he's
other-
not as pale. If you watch the restored version, he's not
Oh.
as pale as
Maybe I'm
he
watching the
looks.
Criterion, but he looked really washed out in that one. It's definitely possible.
This
well,
is the Criterion. version.
No, it's the Criterion is good. It's
Uh-huh.
whatever you have behind you, Scott, is.
well,
bad.
the girls liked him, so you know that's good.
Weird little detail but I actually thought it was really cool was, did you guys notice that the fake, the movie blood of the time that this movie came out was usually like this really garish red.
Yeah,
And
it
this
was kind of like
way over here in like Brownville,
Mhm.
Yeah.
it actually looked more realistic.
Yeah, I did.
Well, it looked like it had oxidized.
Yeah.
the part where he gets shot in the arm, and they actually the thing
Yes.
looks really quite realistic.
That like for a 1967 movie, go rewatch Wild Bunch. I mean,
when
it's
he takes his shirt, he pulls up his shirt and he's got that just gash across
Yeah.
his arm from the
Yeah.
bullet,
All right.
and he's actually like treating it. And then when he wakes up in the morning, there's more blood, and he has to go and deal with
Little
it again.
spots on his shirt. Yeah,
Yeah, like
good
that's
stuff.
so
Yeah.
fucking cool.
That's very outgoing. Let's go back to the Coen brothers again, see
And-
where they're influenced.
And remember, Melville is not, by any stretch of the imagination, Nouvelle Vague or New Wave.
What was he then?
He did a bunch of other films before dying. He died sort of young.
Oh,
He also.
oh no, he did.
that-
I read about that. He did that kind of young.
He also. I read that he. You know that name he stole from Herman, of course, because he
Yes.
that's not his real name at all.
He's got like a German sounding last name.
Yeah, he died in '73.
Like Schmidt or something. Yeah,
But
so
but
like,
Alain Delon is the best looking motherfucker to ever wear a fedora, because fedoras have become this horrible. It's like him and Indiana Jones. I mean, that's it.
well,
that's
and
it.
remember at this time people weren't wearing hats in '67. You know, that
That's true. It was on its way out.
like Kennedy didn't wear a hat.
Yeah, that was like the 40s and 50s, right?
Yeah,
This dude could rock a fucking fedora, man.
That's a trilby.
Yeah.
that's a trilby.
That's a motherfucking trilby.
Well, Kennedy was so popular.
only-
Yeah, it's not even a
hat
fedora.
named- the
It's
only
like
hat named
it's like the
after
fedora's
his
cousin.
play.
No,
It's like the fedora's brother.
Kennedy wiped out the hat industry because he did. You
Yeah.
know, everyone's like, I don't want to wear any hats anymore. And
Well,
that's,
Also,
like,
I want to point out that the other bad guy, and it happens multiple times in the movie.
the blonde guy.
Yeah,
Blonde guy.
he's carrying American guns.
Yeah, he carries
He's got a Smith and Wesson revolver the first
This guy
time. and
right
he's got
here?
a 1911
Yeah.
in this one,
Uh-huh.
and Alain Delon is carrying Italian revolvers
Right.
through the whole movie, and I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
So many
Because that's
great
definitely a
scenes.
choice.
And also, he always chooses to drive. Maybe it's because the gigantic ring of keys. He always drives a
Citroen?
Citroen
Well, it's a
DS.
Citroen because that's what
That's what the keys are. Yeah.
Yeah, that's every Citroen DS key in France, and he just keep going through one at a time.
That's a perfectly reasonable way to do something.
Yeah.
Like,
And also
there's only so many
anonymous-
key cuts that you can get on one of those.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's like it's a fairly anonymous car. They were very popular back then, so you can definitely get away
They
with
were. I think
Scott
those
had
were the
that-
two reasons.
Great scene between his real life wife, by the way, who was the actress, his
Right.
alibi
who plays,
girlfriend,
Oh,
and
really?
and
I didn't know that.
and the
Oh, Lord.
detective.
Mhm.
That was such a great scene when they came to
was.
her. Yeah, there.
Yeah.
She's like, you want me to lie about him? You want me to
Mhm.
perjure myself?
Mhm.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
like,
she had a really
"Fuck you."
complex relationship with the guy. I wasn't sure exactly what was going on, but do you think that?
But that detective in that scene was fucking phenomenal. And that's what Chris is talking about. We've seen that scene now 1,000 times.
Right.
But this was like one of the first times that you'd seen that scene, and he did it better than anyone
Well,
has
you've
ever done it
even
since.
seen the scene of the Metro map, right?
Mhm.
Isn't it
That
in
was
the
fun.
you know, column 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, very much. These guys
Mhm.
went with the little
For sure,
radioactive
Jim.
things that would
Yeah.
signal what they were. That they
7 years,
commented
6
on.
years, 5 years later.
He's
Yeah.
got the umbrella in his hand for
Mhm.
this whole scene, and he's just very slightly pointing with the back of the umbrella when he's walking around the room,
Mhm.
like it's so, and he just walks over and like looks in the thing, and he's like, you know, I was impulsive when I was younger, you know, that these guys, they're just getting, then you hear like something crash in the kitchen,
Yeah.
you know, like it's such he has such a level of menace.
Overzealous.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he has such a level of menace to him in that scene. I think it's fantastic.
Also, I'd be hard pressed to think of a film of this era or even before where you so well blended three different storylines. You have you've got the mobsters, and you've got the cops, and it goes back and forth in a really good way. And I think it was really you're always picking up something interesting from all these guys. There was no filler at all.
Right.
It was really well cut in that respect. Still too long, but intercut well.
I think this movie is greater than the sum of its parts because I think the first half in particular, like there are scenes, like there was a whole lot of, like I felt like the entire scene when he gets brought in the first time is much longer than it needs to be. Like there's a lot of procedural shit that I felt like they were wasting my time with. Having said that, I think, you know, objectively, this movie kind of set the standard for icy cool on many levels way early.
Oh yeah.
But it was cool. It was cool in that scene though to see those old dudes disagree at a couple of moments, which was really fun.
No problem. No, like I have no. It's just it was just like, and I don't know.
Yeah, it went on a bit long.
This movie would not be remembered as well if it was tighter.
Maybe it's possible. It was the style of the time. It was more deliberate. It's like
borderline meandering at
Yeah.
times.
David Lean did films like this, where it kind of like he'd show you everything. You know, people walking across rooms.
I mean, it's a totally different genre, but I just realized that this movie came out the exact same year as The Graduate.
And you know, it came out the same year as Playtime.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have three very different, and honestly, the one that is, I mean, this is its own thing, but the one that is really the most. Yeah, I mean, The Graduate was so sort of advanced in terms of its like filmmaking and its storytelling.
But it's quicker and it's more intercut. It's a different style, you know.
Well, but it's also just. I mean,
Mike
you know,
Nichols, right?
Yeah, Mike Nichols. Yeah.
Also, the thing behind Chris there is an example we're talking about. This being an unusual. This is probably in the Playtime universe of absurdity. The only thing he had in his apartment was bottles of Avion and packs of Galoises. And a bird. I mean,
I love that the dude smashes through the fucking window with the gun.
Yeah, that was kind of
because he's got to surprise him.
He's in the
tub. He's standing in the tub, and he fucking smashes through the thing with the gun and points it at him, and then he walks around the outside because he's like, "Now that I have your attention."
Yeah, pretty much. That's overly theatrical, but yes, it got the point across.
But he's the kind of asshole who would do something like that because he thinks he makes him tough.
Yeah,
you know, he doesn't realize that he's not a tough guy and he's up against a tough guy.
Right.
The bottles and the boxes and stuff make him a real person. They really do, because he's like, I mean, he's organized, but that's his life.
Okay, he's slightly less crazy than Ghost Dog, I'll give you that, but not much.
Glad I finally saw this. It epitomizes French cool.
Yes. Yeah. You just nailed it. You just nailed it, like right there. Epitomizes French cool.
Yeah.
Epitomizes French cool.
Yeah. All right. So thumbs.
Yeah.
Well,
did
Jim have a corner?
Jim?
Jim?
I got some of it in.
Okay, good enough. All right.